week one was something. It was a pretty good start to the year, I will say that. So week one, all 16 games were played, obviously. And I did actually pretty good for week one. I went 9-6-1, I think. I got 9 of these right, 6 of these wrong, like my winner lost. The person that I had winning lost. And then we had a tie. This is probably the game that I would not have expected to end up as a tie, but I mean, it is what it is. So we're going to run through all of these matchups briefly, relatively briefly, and I'm going to give my thoughts about each and every single game. Starting with the Thursday nighter, Bills-Rams. Now, this didn't necessarily shock me as far as who was going to win, my Bills. It was just the way in which they won. They absolutely manhandled the Rams in that second half. First half, I'm not going to lie, I was nervous. After Allen threw that second pick, I was like, oh my god, the Rams are going to get momentum. You got to be kidding me. But no, the defense, they held out. They were good. Like, even without Trey White, this team was solid. I mean, outside of, obviously, Cooper Kupp, like, getting like half of Stafford's passing stats, like, well, more than half, really. He had nearly 45% of the completions of Stafford. He had 53% of the yards, and he caught Stafford's only touchdown in that second quarter. But overall, after that second pick, the Bills just absolutely took off. I mean, despite losing the turnover battle, 4 turnovers, Allen threw 2 picks, James Cook's first carry was a fumble, and Zach Moss fumbled. Despite all that, they were able to force 3 Stafford INTs, 3 takeaways, and just absolutely manhandled LA. It was cool to see. I mean, especially to see Diggs burn Jalen Ramsey. In all honesty, though, Jalen Ramsey thought he did have, second help in the back, but he didn't, and I mean, that's on him. And that's partially on him. Diggs just blew right by him. And I mean, it was great to see Diggs just celebrate and just absolutely talk smack to Jalen Ramsey, to a guy that's been doing that his entire career. Overall, I'm very confident with the Bills. For the Rams, I'm not as confident, but again, it's week one. All these matchups, like, we can't overreact, but sometimes week one can tell a lot about a team. The Bills look good. I mean, limit the turnovers, and I mean, I won't be as scared for, the rest of the season. But as far as the Rams go, you definitely got some work to do. I mean, Stafford took 7 sacks from the Buffalo Bills D-line. I don't know whether it's because the Buffalo Bills just got that much better, or the Rams O-line just got that much worse. It could be both, honestly. But the Rams just did not look like themselves. But they still have a lot of time to figure it out. It's week one. I'm not going to overreact. The Rams still have a good team. They just got absolutely manhandled on an off day. Next matchup I want to talk about is Jaguars Washington. Now, this one I had Jacksonville coming out with a near win. And I mean, honestly, again, this matchup could have went either way. And Washington came out. I'm not really surprised with that. Am I a little upset? Yeah, because I kind of wish I was right. I kind of wish I got 10 wins in the first week. But it is what it is. Carson Wentz played good. It was shocking to me. He threw 4 touchdowns of that one. I mean, like Josh Allen, he threw 2 interceptions, but I mean, Carson Wentz threw over 300 yards. I mean, against Jacksonville, I mean, I know it's not, insanely impressive because it's the Jags. But still, just to see Carson Wentz air it out is solid, but still, Terry McLaurin for fantasy is not good value for me. The fact that Wentz only looked at Terry McLaurin twice, it's just, imagine if Terry McLaurin was getting targeted as much as Cooper Kupp. You know how much good Terry McLaurin would do for your fantasy team, dude? I swear, it's like Terry McLaurin's quarterbacks don't know what a wide receiver 1 is. I swear to God, dude. But hey, they got the win, and that's all that matters. If you're Jacksonville, you put up a heck of a fight, but Washington just got the better of you. Next up, we got Cleveland versus Carolina. I think I had Carolina winning this one, but I saw this one going either way. Swear to God, I think it was all the games that I saw going either way. It was pretty close. This one I saw going either way. This one I saw going either way. What else? I think I saw this one going either way, but this was a blowout. This one I think I saw going... No, not really. I don't remember. But I remember taking the Chiefs in this one. We'll get to this matchup in just a second. But the Browns, I mean, Nick Chubb was a beast. He didn't find the end zone, but he got a crap ton of yards. He's now third. He had the third most rushing yards in week 1. And I mean, that field goal was insane. Like, it looked like the field goal just like, it was going to go wide, but then it hooked back into the uprights from, what was it, 58, I think? I think it was like 58 yards. It was a long booming, yeah, it was 58. But it was a long kick from a rookie, Cade York. I'm pretty sure he was a rookie. But that was crazy. I saw that kick, and that's what it looked like to me. It curved, and then it just went back in. That was nuts. Mayfield didn't exactly have the game that I thought he would. And I mean, Brissett didn't look... I mean, neither of these quarterbacks necessarily looked bad, but neither of them looked necessarily, elite. Cooper wasn't the receiver that I thought he would be. But, again, this is only week 1. We can't be overreacting. But, again, week 1 can be very telling for some teams. Cleveland won't be as bad as I thought they would be without Deshaun Watson. Their defense is still going to be decent. It's still going to be solid. The offense could be iffy at times, but overall the Browns will be okay. Next up, we have the Chiefs and the Cardinals. I mean, this one, Jesus. Cardinals just got absolutely shellacked. And if this says anything, this says that Mahomes does not need Tyreek Hill. He's just got a shirt that says Tyreek Hill who? He didn't need him to put up over 300 yards, lead the league in I'm pretty sure he led the league in passing this week. He had 360 yards, and Matt Ryan threw up 352 yards, I guess, against the Texans, which that's shocking. That's crazy. 352 yards. But, like, Jonathan Taylor, he was second in rushing yards with 161, only behind Saquon Barkley. But with the way Jonathan Taylor was rushing, I thought, I didn't think Matt Ryan had that many passing yards, but he did. But somehow the Colts tied. Whatever. Chiefs, Cardinals, I mean, the way Mahomes just absolutely manhandled the Cardinals in this one, they demoralized them. They demolished them. Worse than the Bills-Rams. And the Chiefs just put up a ton of points. Defensively, they held out Arizona for a while. Now, keep in mind, D-Hop's not there, but still, that is encouraging for a Chiefs. That is encouraging if you're a Chiefs fan. Next up, we have the Giants and the Titans. This one shocked me because I think I had the Titans winning. Saquon, he went off. Saquon had a really good game, which I guess I shouldn't be shocked about, but I guess after having 2 seasons of just being injured, I didn't know how good he would be in week 1. I figured he put up yards, but to lead the league in rushing in week 1, I mean, did not expect that. And I mean, I definitely didn't expect the Giants to win this game. I mean, I figured they might have been able to make it somewhat close, maybe, after my predictions. But the fact that the Giants beat the Titans, that's good for Brian Daboll. I love Daboll in Buffalo, and he's already making a solid impression out there in New York. And we'll save this game for last because it was a Monday nighter. So we'll transition to the AFC because we were just talking about Jonathan Taylor and Saquon. We had the matchup that had Saquon in it. Now let's go to the matchup that had JT in it. Taylor obviously did JT things. I mean, the Colts are not minimizing his workload, clearly. And I mean, JT, he got a touchdown, over 30 carries, 161 yards. And aside from the rushing yards, he led the league in pretty much every category. Saquon Barkley had 18 attempts. He averaged 9.1 yards per carry, while Taylor averaged 5.2, which, I mean, is not bad. But the fact that Barkley only needed 18 attempts to get over 160 and Taylor needed 30 attempts, 30 plus, I mean, that just says a lot. Saquon has explosiveness. Taylor, he's got explosiveness too, but Saquon Barkley just had a phenomenal game. And the longest rush for Barkley was 68 yards. And Barkley did have a touchdown in that game. But in this game, let's talk about it. Pittman Jr. had a very solid game. And again, Matt Ryan, he was second on the week in passing with 352 yards. He had a 64% completion percentage, completing 32 of 50 passes. Davis Mills didn't look half bad either. Davis Mills, he completed 23 of 37 for 240 yards, and I'm pretty sure he had 2 touchdowns on that one as well. none of which went to Brandon Cooks, who I had on my fantasy team. But Cooks still had a very good game. Like, you know what you're going to get out of Brandon Cooks. But I didn't know what I was going to get out of this game. I thought I did by selecting the Colts, but I guess we settle for a draw. Next up, we had the Steelers and the Bengals. Now, from what I heard, TJ Watt tore his pectoral, and that was after the Steelers were just manhandling Burrow into 4 picks. They dominated that game, the Steelers' defense. They forced Burrow into 4 takeaways, and that just goes to show you that it doesn't matter who Tomlin coaches, doesn't matter who the Steelers play. They're going to find ways to stay in this game, and in this case, even after TJ tore his pectoral, the Steelers found a way to beat the Bengals. Bengals, it did not look promising. I mean, Chase had a good game. Burrow, he threw 2 touchdowns, but he threw 4 picks. So, not very encouraging there. But, again, week 1. Can't overreact. Just an off week for Burrow. All right? Ravens-Jets. I mean, I expected the Ravens to win this game. Fully healthy defense. I mean, Devin Duvernay got 2 touchdowns, and Andrews wasn't as big of a factor as I thought he would be. But I guess the Ravens didn't need him to be an insanely huge factor. So, good win for the Ravens. For the Jets, it's another long season. Next up is the Patriots and the Dolphins. A somewhat low-scoring game that I had the Dolphins winning. 20-7 was the final. Tua didn't look bad. Hill led the team in receptions and receiving yards, obviously. Let me fact-check myself on that. Because I know Tyreek Hill, he led the team in receiving yards, but he didn't get a touchdown. Jalen Waddle did. Waddle got a touchdown. As far as the Patriots go, Mac Jones did throw a touchdown, but he also threw a pick. Patriots defense didn't look bad, but the Dolphins defense just looked good. They looked strong. They looked rock solid. I definitely love the Dolphins this year, even if they are a division rival. But still, the Dolphins looked solid. Dolphins looked good. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Yeah, Tyreek Hill led the team in catches and yards. And Waddle, of course, had Tua's lone passing touchdown. Next up, we have the Raiders and the Chargers. Now, I know quite a few people that are Raiders and Chargers fans. And I had the Chargers winning this one. This was definitely another really close game. I had a feeling whoever took this game was probably going to lose in the next one. He's probably going to lose in the next one. But Devontae Adams got his first touchdown as a Raider, and the Chargers' offense didn't look half bad either. Chargers' offense looked solid. Khalil Mack got in there for 3 sacks, which is the amount of touchdown passes that Justin Herbert had. Keenan Allen led the team in receiving yards. Mike Williams wasn't as big of a factor as I thought he would be. Same thing with Austin Eckler. 14 carries, only getting 36 yards. That's less than 3 yards a carry. And then Carr, he threw 3 INTs with 2 touchdowns. I mean, the 3 picks are not ideal. That makes me, just feel a lot better about Allen's 2 INTs. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Bengals and Raiders fans. It just makes me feel a lot better. Anyways, now we go to the game that probably shocked me the most this week was Niners-Bears. I mean, it wasn't the fact that the Bears won. It was by how much they did. I mean, the first half, it was ugly really both sides. I mean, raining conditions, it's naturally going to be ugly. But the Bears' defense held out in that second half, and offensively, they looked solid. I mean, they looked good. Fields didn't look half bad. I mean, he did throw a pick. That was early in the game, though. But he had 2 passing touchdowns, and he looked like him. He looked like the guy that the Bears needed him to be. Again, far from a perfect game for either side. Far from a perfect game for the Bears, but if you're a Bears fan, this is absolutely encouraging. You got to be encouraged by this. This is a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year, and you just won. Now, keep in mind, again, week 1, anything can happen. The Bears can still, lose all 16 games. But you got to think that this is super encouraging for the Chicago Bears, who weren't really slated to do too much to the San Francisco 49ers. Big win for the Bears by 2 scores. And another NFC North team, we got the Eagles and the Lions. Eagles, they played solid. I mean, I expected them to win. It was a 3-score game, but the Lions looked very competitive, though. Dan Campbell was not going to give up. If he was going down, he was going to try and take Jalen Hurts' kneecap. All right? Jalen Hurts looked solid, didn't throw a touchdown, but he did get a rushing touchdown. I was mad because I had him, and I had the second most points in my family league, but I just really, really wish that Jalen Hurts had put up just that much more points. So many missed opportunities for Hurts to get a touchdown. But instead, he's handing it to guys like Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, who, Miles Sanders, I did not think he was going to be anything this year. I figured he would get a couple touchdowns, but, like, the fact that he did what he did against the Lions, that just, he absolutely made me eat my own words. Like, off screen, I was saying all this stuff like Miles Sanders, he is not good. He's never lived up to his, like, potential. Like, 2 years ago, he was going off in, like, the first round. He went off in the first round of my league. And I was like, what? But now this year, I'm like, wow. Like, he played good. Again, like, this is only week 1. He could still fall off. But if this shows us anything, it's that Miles Sanders definitely has a good shot to be good this season. I'm still not entirely sold on Sanders. But, I could still be, wrong. Eagles' defense looked solid for the most part up until the end, but then again, I think these were just consolation scores. Actually, not really. They weren't really consolation scores because the Eagles had to milk the clock. Eagles had to milk the clock to end the game, so they weren't necessarily consolation scores because the Eagles, they had to milk some time. So, not entirely consolation scores, but they were down by quite a bit, and they nearly came back and won. So, good job for the Lions, who I think will be a lot better this season. And as far as the Eagles go, keep doing what you're doing, man. Your biggest competition at this point is Washington. Maybe the Giants. Because the Cowboys didn't get a win. We'll get to them in a second. But for the Saints-Falcons, I actually had the Saints as my survivor pick. And, I barely survived. On a Will Lutz field goal. Falcons looked solid for the most part, like in the first half, but then they started choking away the lead and they looked back like themselves again. Sorry, Falcons fans, but I'm not gonna lie, you guys did look pretty solid. But the Saints just looked that much better. The Saints, Winston, he threw 2 touchdowns, no picks, well over 200 yards. Kamara wasn't a factor, but how about Michael Thomas? Michael Thomas got 2 touchdowns in that game, which I was pretty impressed by. Landry, he led the team in receiving. He had 7 catches, 114 yards, no touchdowns, averaging 16.3 yards per reception. But Michael Thomas had just 5 catches for 57 yards, but he got 2 touchdowns, and that's something that matters the most. So good job on both sides, but congrats to the Saints. Next up, we had the Packers and the Vikings. Vikings offense, they looked solid against on paper, good Packers secondary. On paper. All right. Defensively, the Vikings got to Rodgers 4 times in that game. The Packers, they did get to Cousins once, but that was about it. Jefferson went off, 9 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns in that game against the Packers. He was getting open. Wide open. Jefferson is going to finish as the number 1 receiver, and I would not be surprised if he won Offensive Player of the Year. All right. As for the Packers, you didn't have Allen Lazard. That definitely hurt you guys. But still, it's week 1. They were in the same predicament a season ago. But to be fair, Rodgers actually had Devontae Adams last year. He had a competent wide receiver 1. Not to say that Lazard isn't, competent, but he's not anywhere near Devontae Adams. All right? Nobody is. On that Packers team, no one is. All right? Buccaneers, Cowboys. The Cowboys' defense wasn't bad. Parsons, he did get to Brady twice, which I think Parsons will probably win Defensive Player of the Year now that TJ Watt is gone for a pretty significant amount of time. But that offense at Dallas just looked horrendous, atrocious. And now that Prescott's gone for a pretty substantial amount of time, Cooper Rush is not going to win you too many games. Some of these games are winnable. Next week, you won't beat the Bengals, but, defensively, the Cowboys didn't look half bad. Trayvon Diggs, obviously got scored on by Mike Evans, who's significantly bigger than him. But, Mike Evans is Mike Evans, and Brady is Brady. So this just goes to show you can never count out Brady. You can never count out this Buccaneers team as long as they have Tom Brady. All right? Next up, we had the Broncos and the Seahawks. This is what shocked me, too. But, I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, what was going through his mind when he sent McManus out for the 64-yard try? You had 2 timeouts. I mean, it was 4th down, so I mean, the game would have been decided either way. Would have been decided on that play either way if they went for it or kicked the field goal. So I'm not entirely mad at it, but for me, I'm thinking you have 2 timeouts, and it's not like it's 4th and 19 from that spot. It's 4th and 5. Pick up like 5 or 6 yards, use a timeout, call another play, and try and get yourself a little bit closer for McManus. Because I mean, McManus, he did get closer than I thought he would, but for the Broncos, this was just a miserable performance. And I mean, going into the season, I thought the Broncos were a little overrated. A little overrated. Not significantly, but a little bit. But for me, Geno Smith didn't look bad in that game. The defense of Seattle looked somewhat solid. They were keeping Denver out of the end zone. Denver was marching the ball, and they had 4 trips to the red zone, and they couldn't convert a single time. Melvin Gordon fumbled, Javonte Williams fumbled, and the Broncos just could not capitalize on red zone opportunities. Which, that is not good. Not good for the Denver Broncos. Alright? Just not good. And I think that should just about do it. That is a recap of each and every single matchup. I mean, obviously, it's week 1, but, some games like Seattle and Denver, Tampa, Dallas, Niners. I mean, maybe not this one, but definitely Vikings, Packers tells a lot about Minnesota more so, because they looked solid. Bills, Rams, 100%, especially for Buffalo. They looked like the league's best team that night against the Rams. Just a complete and absolute beatdown of the LA Rams. They looked like the most complete team this week. Offensively, they dominated, and defensively, you held them to 10 points. Alright, this looked like the most complete team. And I mean, Kansas City, they looked very complete as well. I would say this is a pretty close second. Offensively, you were strong. Defensively, we were strong, but I'm sure they're just garbage time touchdowns. Just garbage time touchdowns. So, I'm not going to give any disrespect to the Kansas City Chiefs at all. This was definitely... I think you can make a good case that this was the most complete team as well. But just the quality of Buffalo's win makes them the more, complete and just absolute best team, at least for this week. All right? Again, it's week 1. Can't overreact, because a lot of things could happen later in the season. But yeah, anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this recap of week 1. My recap of week 1. And I don't know, either tomorrow or Thursday, I do plan on getting out my week 2 picks. Again, 9, 6, and 1 is where I'm at this week. Hopefully we can get, better results next week. But I mean, it's going to be relatively difficult to top 9 and 6. But yeah, with that being said, you guys, what were your thoughts on week 1? Let me know down in the comments below if you enjoyed this video or not, and your thoughts for week 1. And what are your thoughts going into week 2? That being said, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you are brand new, which I'm sure a lot of you will be. And click that notification bell to get all the latest news on all my latest content. So that being said, you guys, I will see you in a day or two making picks for week 2. And as far as, later in the year, I want to do, MVP award, NFL awards and stuff like that. But I think week 1 is way too early to do that. So expect, after, week 8 or week 9 for me to start doing, who I think is going to win an award. Like MVP, offensive player, defensive player, rookie of the year, offensive, defensive rookie of the year, coach of the year, all that good stuff. But yeah, with that being said, you guys, I will see you guys in the next video.